Well, good morning, everybody, and a particularly good morning to all our Canadian cruisers on this your National Day. We hope you are going to have a celebration appropriate to the occasion. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, ZMH 286, Patricia and David, and it is July 1st. And I know a lot of you have had a interesting weather weekend. Here we have had another one of our glorious weekends under these big fat highs that we've had. You will not believe it, but we were outside sunbathing, stripped off not too much on our quite private deck, which is very, very sheltered from most directions, and did a little bit of sun tanning on Saturday. It wasn't quite so good on Sunday. It had a little bit of cloud, but nevertheless, no wind and lovely blue sunny skies. It's just been incredible, particularly enjoyable for us going shooting on Sundays. Anyway, today we actually had a little bit of rain earlier on, about, it would have been about 5 o'clock. Currently it is 3 knots from the east, still another very calm day. 14 degrees, so not too bad. For me trying to find the newspaper, which didn't come this morning. 1030.8 on the bar and steady, so it's down from what it has been, but still a very delightful day. So let's have a look at, well, there is quite a lot of activity. David will talk about all of the weather events later. I'll just do a little bit of news because I don't think we've got too many people on the go at the moment. Flying Fish arrived in Cairns late yesterday, so he's out of the water. He had quite a fast trip there, and I think that was about it really. Most of you were holed up somewhere for the weekend. Anyway, a bit of news from here, despite the fact that the newspaper didn't come. Thank heavens for the internet, which we still have. Cancer rates in New Zealand. Boy, what a shocker report from about that. It's been all put together. New Zealand is second only to Australia in cancer rates per 100,000 people. Australia is up at 743.8. That's unbelievable. New Zealand is bad enough at 542.8, just ahead of the US at 532.9, and the Netherlands 477.3. All pretty big dairy and meat eating countries, you might note. Luxembourg 455, that's quite high too. But New Zealand has the worst rate for carcinogenic melanomas, and this is a particularly important thing to note. Anybody out there who has not been to New Zealand and is coming at the end of the season, we have particularly strong sun. UV is, even when we were out there on Saturday, we had to be careful. You burn very, very quickly. And so we have the worst rate in the world for melanoma, and nobody in New Zealand would not know somebody that has succumbed. I've got a good friend at the moment who is battling that. Worst rate for leukemia as well. Absolutely amazing. Skin cancer, by the way, is 6 times the global average here. Leukemia is 3 times the average. In New Zealand, 9,500 people die from cancer each year, and that is 31% of all deaths in New Zealand. That's a rather frightening figure, isn't it? So maybe some time in the tropics is quite useful for you. All right, on to world news. The G20 summit, of course, has been the major event of the last few days. And the USA and China have agreed to restart trade talks. Mr. Trump has clearly been given some be happy pills or been on Valium or something. He has just been a little joy over these last few days. He's even said that US companies can sell to Huawei. He actually made most of other friendly countries stop dealing with Huawei, but now he said that US companies can sell to Huawei. And he even invited Kim Jong-un for a powwow at the demilitarized zone, which they did do, and actually had a chat for about an hour in one of the buildings there. And Mr. Trump was the first sitting president to actually walk into North Korea. I think he had about 12 steps into North Korea. So he's just been doing a little bit of joy travelling around there. Anyway, that's him. Back to Auckland, a huge part of Amazon's Lord of the Rings series. This is going to be a huge series, a $1.5 billion plus series. It's going to be produced in New Zealand, and they have already started pre-production building sets and so on in 2 sites around Auckland. It's all very, very secret. It's going to be set in Middle Earth, so Auckland is quite an appropriate place for Middle Earth, given its traffic jams and housing crisis. So that will keep people busy over the next few years. It's going to be an ongoing series by the sound of it. Some interesting food thoughts for those of you out there that are in the greater than 65 or even greater than 70 bracket. Are you getting enough protein? In Finland, for example, they say that for people over 65, you need 1.1 grams per kilogram of body weight of protein. And this could come from all sorts of things. And of course, it's a bit of a twin-edged sword because you're not meant to get much from red meat. But there's all sorts of other things, nuts and grains and eggs and so on. So New Zealand is not quite that high. We're in the 0.94 grams per kilogram. But if you are a fairly weighty person, that's actually quite a lot of protein, and this will prevent muscle loss and frailty and all the other problems that come with old age. I'm not sure that it's going to work too well, but anyway, we'll up David's nuts consumption and just make sure that he doesn't lose any brain power. Brain's muscle, isn't it?
Well, I'm going to stick with meat.
Oh, God. There you are. All right. By the way, Canada Day, it marks their joining in 1867 of the original 3 provinces. I didn't know that till I read it on the internet before. All right. If you're sick of cruising out there, by the way, you may want to consider taking up a leadership role in the EU.
Oh.
They cannot even agree on the top job candidates at the moment, particularly who might want to be the president, which evidently is a pain of a job to have. So if you are sort of getting a bit bored with the cruising life, particularly if the weather's not too good.
Or if you feel suicidal.
You'll feel suicidal, yes. Okay, what I chuckled about was a new rule in EU countries for electric vehicles. They will have to feature a noise-emitting device. This is for new electric vehicles, folks. This noise-emitting device, as of today, will have to be inserted because there are concerns that they are too quiet, and this is putting pedestrians at risk as they cannot be heard. I don't know why pedestrians don't use their eyes, but anyway.
I don't know, but I tell you, that rule in New Zealand wouldn't be needed for a crap road.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the other problem is that they have to have an alert sound, like this beep, beep, beep when reversing and travelling below 19 kilometres per hour. On the southern motorway here in New Zealand, all you'll be able to hear is beep, 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 because we often have to go less than 19 kilometres per hour. This beep, 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 by the way, is called an Acoustic Vehicle Alert System, AVAS. Now, I bet you didn't know that for the beep, beep, beeps. An Acoustic Vehicle Alert System.
That's a poor acronym. That's going to be very confusing.
Yeah, it is. All right, here in New Zealand, seeing as we're talking about that, there's quite a few new rules coming in today. All rental properties must have ceiling and underfloor installation where possible. 17-year-olds are now included in the youth justice system. Plastic bags are now absolutely verboten. The supermarket stopped them a while ago, but this is absolutely everywhere else, farmers and so on and so forth. So absolutely verboten, including the biodegradable ones, which we are now using.
Why
Oh, I
the
don't know. That's
biodegradable?
all part of it. And petrol for us Aucklanders is going up another 3 cents a litre. This is on top of the 11.5 cents a litre that went up late last year. So there you are. All sorts of things happening while you're peacefully enjoying yourselves up there. I'm just having a look at the streaming news here. Whangarei, for those that want to know what it's like back there. Eagles Wings. It's 100% overcast. They've got worse weather than we. And so they're looking to leave on Friday for Anisham. So we'll see what happens there. Not a good signal from us in, where is he? Up, this is Mr. Troy up there in, anyway, I'll think of it in a minute. Malakula, that's right, Port Sandwich. Knew it was on that side somewhere, couldn't remember. And no wind and clear skies in Muscat Cove. Everything has moved through nicely. Savu, 90% cloud cover. Looks like some rain. And Amazing Grace are finally going to get away to Vanua Balavu. And at Bunda, thank you, John, temperature of 21. That's not all that warm, is it? And a very, very light wind. All right. That's a quick roundup of what we've had. We've had a few, I wouldn't say lots, but a few very excellent reports came in over the weekend. David will discuss that. But meanwhile, is there anybody that wants to give a report, or I really should just check things out to make sure we're being heard out there? So I wouldn't mind quickly hearing from somebody. Oh, thank you very much. Loud and clear in Vanuatu, which is good. And I wonder, it's who said it wasn't very clear somewhere or other else. Anyway, Alex in Savu, so they're on streaming.
Somebody in Tonga.
And how about somebody in Tonga to let us know, because you're the only ones left with the weather coming up today. Is there anybody in Tonga can give me a report? Oh, hello, Elaine. Go ahead. Sorry, I doubled with you. Elaine, go ahead. No, interestingly enough, you were quite clear at the start, and then your radio, well, it might be conditions going up and down, but if you could just say again, please. Over. Thank you, loud and clear. Well, you're loud and clear now too. All right, so we are going up and down, folks, and I presume it's the same from our direction to you. So just a little bit what they call in radio circles, QSB. So we'll hopefully you can hear us when David takes the microphone, because we've got more amplification than you guys. All right, so we'll presume that all is well, and we will pass the microphone. David's just going to have a little sniffle here. We've still got our little bugs keep coming back again, but not too bad. All right, here's the weather.
All right, good morning, and here we are Monday. A mixed day for weather, that's for sure. The Western Island groups, Newcastle, Vanuatu, they've seen the worst of the major weather events. I'm sure they're all happy about that. Fiji is nearly done with the worst. Tonga and Minerva still are having and will have issues today and for the few days to come. The series of troughs that basically savaged much of Fiji, well, it was a golden opportunity to examine how the various models projected the weather, yet we only received a half dozen reports from yachts, and I really appreciate that was done. Now, I spend a lot of time preparing these weather forecasts, and I definitely ask for you please to report back actual conditions. and only getting 6 people to respond is just not cutting it for me. How in blazes can I really help you if you're not going to help me? And I'm not impressed with this. I'm really not. I really would have thought I'd get more cooperation. It's difficult to retrieve archives. Late reports are not that useful because of that. But if any of you do feel somewhat guilty about this, you can email me what your boat name is, your position, what your winds were over the weekend, and what your model said for your location. And identify the model. And of course, or models if you're looking at more than one, and I'm sure you are if you get internet. And the dates of interest are simply Saturday and Sunday, particularly the Fiji boats. I'm not so concerned about New Caledonia or Vanuatu, the Fiji boats.
You've got good ones.
And I'm going to give credit to the people that did report. Gave us very good reports. Gadigo, Sabah, they're down there in the Nishu, Exocet Strike up in Bunda, Gone with the Wind, Amazing Grace up there in Savu Savu, Messatroy, who was in Malakula at the time, and I really do appreciate that. But listen, this type of thing is, like I said, was a fantastic opportunity to look at these models, particularly since GFS is going to a new version. How it's being integrated now into the data that we are getting from their sub outlets, if you will, I'm not sure about. But anyway, enough of that. I'm not a happy camper there. Okay, looking at the synoptic picture for today, the New Zealand high, which, as Patricia said, has given us glorious weather for nearly a week now. That's drifting east of East Cape today. By lunch, that's where it'll be. Still very strong though, 1038 millibar. Now the Southern Ocean continues to send depressions to the east with a quasi-stationary front that's thrust over the Tasman at the moment. Now the tropical depression that we forecast on Friday near New Caledonia is still with us. It's weak, but it's there. Just southeast of the Loyalties, and there is another little depression that's just to the east of that one. And from there, a curved front is quite evident on imagery, and that turns into a trough, and that is running over the northern parts of Fiji. And it's forecast basically to lie over the top of Vanuatu, and a split in it puts another trough over the northern Lao. By Wednesday, our high, the big fat high, is going to be even further east. It'll have shifted and be centered near 40 south and 165 west. And the central pressure is going to grow. We're looking at a 1044 millibar high, 1044. That's huge. This puts a very, very strong gradient over the people in Minerva and the people in Tonga. So even though it's shifting east, it is still going to create problems for those two areas. So I'm going to jump now to Minerva Reef. We'll call it the New Cal low, is spinning up and it's pushing a trough really over Minerva and bringing more rain, more wind, and I'm seeing 25 to 30 knots, gusting to possibly 40 there. Now this looks to continue Tuesday and Wednesday, although the mean winds on Wednesday may lighten up a little bit, but still rather strong gusts are going to occur. The winds are going to stay mostly northeast Thursday through Thursday, about 20 knots. Gusts Thursday, 25 to 30. And on Friday, I think that's the 5th of July, still northeast, but dropping to about 15 to 20. And Saturday, at least later on Saturday, finally we'll be looking at southeast winds, about 10 to 15. Although just to the south of Minerva, there is still a high wind area. So let's hope it stays to the south. We really don't want it drifting north. And again, thank you to Gotta Go for the updates. If you can continue those for me, that would be fantastic. Okay, over to Tonga now. Tonga is under the influence of the oncoming trough. It's just clearing the Lau, and it's about over the group, a little bit of a slant to it, but it's just about over the group at the moment. Tonga Met has raised gale warnings for all waters, including a small craft warning and a heavy damaging swell warning. In fact, that's still in force. They've had that for a while. They expect northeast winds 25 to 30, rising to 35 to 40 at times. And seas, they expect to be 3 to 4 meters. And the swell coming from the east projected to be up to 4 meters. And obviously, with a lot of rain, there's going to be very poor visibility, particularly in thunderstorms. Now, satellite imagery shows the trough and associated cloud quite clearly this morning, just to the west of Tonga. Actually, Tonga Tapu is starting to get quite a bit of it as we speak. The actual conditions this morning, though, are fairly light. Vavau easterly 12, raining at the airport, barometer 1011. The Hapais east at 15, rain, barometer 1011 as well. Tonga Tapu easterlies 29 knots, rain, barometer 1014. Now the models, this is not Tonga Met, the models are indicating easterlies, give or take, with the winds 25, gusting 35, and slightly less wind for the Vavau area, but the strongest amount of winds are in the Tonga Tapu area, and of course the Hapais being in between, the winds will be sort of in between what I just gave you. Hopefully nobody is in the Hapais at this point, but that's the story. Now the winds during today are going to back, I think, more to the northeast, and tomorrow expect northeast 25 to 30, and they'll be higher in squalls, and that's going to continue Wednesday. Now, Thursday, the winds veer again to go easterlies. So, northeast to easterlies, and give or take 25 to 30 knots, and of course, higher in squalls. Call in if you need more data when we're all done with this. Although Friday looks like about 15 to 25 easterly, so it's a full week of a fair amount of wind, and with that rain or showers. Now, Fiji continues with some effects from the trough, which I have centered east of the Lau now, looking at imagery as the area of maximum effect. The trough still extends toward Rotuma, looking at imagery, and there is residual cloud and showers for actually a fair amount of Fiji, but some areas have plenty of sun. Hardly any cloud at all, so it just depends where you are. Now, Fiji Met, they call for easterlies 20 to 25 for the Lau and the Koro Sea, easing to 15 to 20 into tomorrow. Now, the rest of Fiji, the winds are projected to be southwest 10 to 15, shifting to southerlies 10 to 15 into tomorrow. Now, the actuals this morning, Unduke Point was northeast 8, barometer 1010. The Asawas southeast 10, barometer also 1010. Vanua Balabu northwest 10, barometer 1013. Nandi was east 3, barometer 1009er. Nassori west southwest 3, barometer 1010, broken record. Matuku down in the southeast 1 knot, barometer 1009, and yeah, that's pretty much what I've got on the actuals. Now the radar loop, which I pulled down early this morning, shows very few showers for the Asawas, Viti Levu and surrounds, the Koro Sea, the southern Lao, hardly anything. But numerous showers for northern Vanua Levu and the northern Lao. Quite a bit of activity whipping through there this morning. This is about 5 a.m. Now, EC shows the trough axis still over the Lao, and northeast winds 10 to 15 on the east side of the axis, and south to southwest around 10 knots west of the axis. And GFS pretty much agrees with that. There's a little bit of a difference, but not too much. Although EC a little bit later is calling off a little bit more wind. They're actually calling off northwesterlies 15 to 25. I know that sounds confusing. So south to southwest, I'm going to say this whole thing again. South to southwest on the west side of the axis per GFS, but northwest per EC. And EC is calling off more wind than GFS. And this has been the trend from the few reports that we've gotten. EC has been a little more dominant in terms of wind strength. Pretty much agreement on direction, a few differences. But usually this is the other way around. Usually GFS shows more wind than EC. And the other models that I look at, they tend to be sort of in between EC and GFS. Now, whether or not this is due to the new version of GFS kicking in, I don't know. I sent an email to the coordinator for this new model, or the spokesperson, let's put it that way, and have not received a reply back. And what I asked for is when outfits like Predict Wind or Windy or MetView, et cetera, Buoy Weather, when they are going to get the new version. And I don't have an answer. Anyway, where was I? So back to this little axis. East of the axis, both models and other models call off northeast winds. So that's east of the axis. Now, the only thing I can say regarding this axis is looking at satellite imagery, all of the models have got it a bit wrong. The actual axis is a little bit further east than what the models are indicating, and that shows the value of satellite imagery. Now, for the Asala area, both models are showing south-southwest winds in the 10-knot range. Other models pretty much agree with that, all light air. Tomorrow for the group, the whole group in total, we're looking at south-southeast winds, and yep, they'll prevail pretty much everywhere, 5 to 10 knots, very light, increasing maybe 10 to 15 later in the day. So that covers Fiji and Tonga. Now moving to Vanuatu, imagery shows, well, mostly fair skies. Now, a few scattered cloud is about. However, the trough from Fiji does extend to the northern islands. Very weak, very broken, but it is there and you can see it on imagery. Imagery also shows cyclonic rotation over Tanna and Anishin, and that is part of the weak depression that's just to the southeast of the Loyalties. So, possible light showers, I would say, there, in other words, Anishin right through Tanna, and also in the far north, up in the banks in the northern islands of Vanuatu, possible showers, light showers. Partly cloudy to fair, I'd say, for Bougainville, Port Vila, Lenikai, virtually the same thing tomorrow. And from a wind standpoint, we'll say south-southwest, 10 to 15 for the northern and the central islands, south to southwest down there in the south, and also about 10 to 15 knots. Seas 1.5 to 2 meters out in open waters could be expected. Now we'll see a bit of a wind shift tomorrow. We'll be looking at northwest winds, light, and I'll call it around 10 knots. And another shift on Wednesday will go from northwest to northeast and maybe even east. Call for details if you need it, but the winds are going to be light. For New Caledonia, imagery shows quite low cloud and moving in a cyclonic fashion. Now, I'm going to place the weak depression center just to the east of Ile de Pan and south of Mare and the Loyalties. I can see it spinning around very clearly on imagery, just doing the latest loop a few minutes ago, and there it is for all of you to see if you have the internet. So for today around lunch in our area, the Southern Lagoon, you can expect partly cloudy skies, chance of light showers, the winds, I would say southerly 5 to 10 knots. Later in the day, there'll be a shift to the southwest, light also less than 10. Now, Ile de Pan can expect light and variable, hardly any direction to call there. And tomorrow, we'll see a shift down there in the lagoon to west-northwest, about 5 to 10, mostly fair to partly cloudy. And Wednesday, we'll be looking at northwest winds in the 10-knot range, or it may just be simply light and variable with no discernible direction. And by light, probably less than 5 knots. And mostly sunny conditions. So that's it. That's a lot to cover. Virtually in summary, we're doing good for New Caledonia, Vanuatu, and most of Fiji. The problem areas are Tonga and Minerva. So with that, I'm going to leave it for any questions. I'll pass it to the chief.
I'll just, there was somebody there, I think it might have been Ocean Fever, but stand by, Barney, because we got a very interesting report just in from Richie on Kapai. And David commented on how ECMWF seemed to be the more accurate one, and that was actually mentioned also by John on Exocet Strike. And now also Richie, who's in a very interesting area. He's 8 miles west of Fulanga at a place called Ogea, which I've never heard of before. But he was looking all weekend using Predict Wind, all the models, and he said and confirmed that the closest model for wind direction throughout the weekend was ECMWF. On Sunday down there, the wind built to about 15 to 20 east-northeast. And then by evening, 7 o'clock in the evening, it was northeast 25 with the rain starting. And then it just gradually swung to the north, gusting to 30 with some heavy rain periods. And now today, Monday, and we are talking down there in the southern Lao, 100% cloud, intermittent light rain, and 13 to 20 easterlies, gusting 25. Evidently, he's got quite good protection there. A 40-metre high bluff is on the west coast of this place, Ogea. But, yep, he's another one. And this is interesting because I know David always used to favour GFS, but certainly in this last event, well, based on 2 people, not a high percentage, but 2 people who were carefully looking, looked at ECMWF as being the flavour of the month. All right, I think it was Ocean Fever. If it was you, Barney, or whoever it was, go ahead. Oh dear. All right, I know there is something to say there, and I'm going to need some help hearing it. Did somebody hear that clearly? Please call. Oh, I'm really struggling. There is quite a lot of noise. I am getting quite a lot of noise at my station now, it being winter and being right by the power lines. We do have a lot of noise Somebody that has a good signal and can hear that station, please call. Okay, stand by everybody. Pilgrim, good morning, Ron and Cheryl, go ahead.
Good morning. It was Caesar. He said that he sent an email to Bill Palmer, Radio, and also what she both name as well. He was just curious as to whether you got it.
No, I didn't, and as of when we split off from YIT, Barney, you might have the wrong email address. It's ghradio at extra, xtra.co.nz. So, no, we did not get your email, and you're coming through really well this morning, Ron. Where are you?
What the word Father Island, and I agree with those other models, unfortunately, for the report that the EC64 extra conference over.
Good. Okay, thank you. Another vote for ECMWF. Here's David.
Yes, well, if we can get more of this, I would really appreciate it. This will be a big help. Now, I'll tell you a little quick story. We should not jump to conclusions and say that EC now is going to be the dominant one that we're going to use. Now, a few years ago, I was lucky enough to take the operational forecasters course at Met Service here in Wellington, and what they will do, the Met Service there, and other Met Services do the very same thing. They have what they call the model of the day, not the week, not the month, the day. And as far as New Zealand is concerned, they look definitely at EC, they look at GFS, and they look at UK Met. Those are the key global models that they use, and then they go ahead and they nest it into their own modeling system for mesoscale conditions. But the lesson is that these models have their strengths and their weaknesses. Now, we could have had atmospherics that favored one model. One model may handle the initial conditions, specific initial conditions, better than another model. So next week we could have different kinds of initial conditions, and that would make the other model better. So it's important to look at both and also to hear the boat reports, and that's why we're always asking for boat reports so we can keep tabs on which one is more accurate. But for this weekend, this is a classic one to do the comparison. So again, if you can take the time to drop me some notes on what you've found, like a few of you have just mentioned today, that would really be useful. So here's the chief. Thanks.
Okay, anybody else? All right. And Diego has just said that the HF signal is better now, so if anyone wants anything repeated, now is a good time. Usually it goes the other way. Anybody else with anything, please call. Apai, go ahead. Okay, so you've had that same wind shift as Kapai over there, just west of Falanga, and you're in Falanga, I presume, are you? Kapai, are you in Falanga? Over. Oh, you're there too. Okay, yeah. Oh, and that was you. Kapai. I didn't get the K part. Kapai. So you've got north now. All right. Boy, it's an interesting place to be for this this weather. So it sounds like a pretty good anchorage, though. Over. Yeah. All righty. Thank you for that. And yes, an interesting report from you. All right, folks, is there anybody else? Oh, there's another light one there. I'm hoping that Pilgrim might hear you. give your boat name and say your question or whatever, or report or whatever it is, and hopefully Ron will copy. Go ahead. Did you get that? Thank you, Ron. Go ahead. Okay, so you're very clear with Pilgrim there at Mana Island, but it's sort of, I think you would be okay generally. Certainly Maritime Radio would pick you up. I have this battle with the power noise here. So, yep, it was strong enough. It just wasn't all that clear because of my accompanying snap, crackle, and pops. All right. Okay, thanks everybody, and it looks like that might be it. We'll be here for a minute trying to tidy up things here. So if anybody else wants anything or wants to make contact, the frequency is all yours. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, clearing the frequency. Have a good day all, especially you Canadians. Oh, you're strong this morning. That's amazing. We seem to be getting in quite well towards the west, Vanuatu, and also to you. How are you still in the same spot, Alan?
Roger, and I could hear just clearer as well out here. There was just something that you haven't mentioned that I thought might be worthy. They had a bit of an attack on a super yacht in Ovea last week. The guests were assaulted and the boat sustained quite a bit of damage. I had heard when I arrived that already had problems with the locals with 2 or 3 other boats, and I decided to stay away of it.
Thank you very much. I'll mention that again tomorrow in case people have turned off. Uvea, of course, has been a problem area for the French for some years now. Folks, if you didn't hear Alan, I suspect you did. Very good signal. There was an attack with quite a lot of damage on a super yacht at Uvea last week. Uvea is the sort of the northernmost island of the Loyalties in New Caledonia. Definitely a place to avoid this season. It's a shame. It's a really beautiful spot, but the natives there are restless, particularly if you have a French flagged boat. So if you do want to risk it, make sure you have, when we were there, David wore his New Zealand t-shirt the whole time, and we flew the New Zealand flag. But, yeah, it's evidently, according to Alan, that followed from problems with 2 or 3 normal-sized boats just before that. So thanks for reporting that. I had not heard. I'll try and find something about it on the internet, Alan, but thank you for that. Back to you, over.
Yeah, guns were involved.
Thank you for that. Guns were involved. Yeah, that's not good to hear, particularly as the French have really controlled that area incredibly well. But you can only do so much, can't you?
They want to have guns, they'll get guns.
Yep, as we were trying to explain to the politicians here, if people want guns, they will get them. And all of these new regulations that they are trying to put on us here are just not going to work. But politicians are politicians, and I think they're born with not too much reasoning power. So what is your current weather conditions up there, Alan?
Wind speed the wee bit is down below 20 knots, but probably 15 to 20 from the southeast.
Okay, 15 to 20 from the southeast, and you're still there, so still after the elusive shell, over?
Yeah, roger. I found just about everything, but yeah, I'll keep trying at them.
Lighter air tomorrow.
Well, you will have lighter air tomorrow, according to the boss here, so that will make it a little bit easier for you. But, yep. All right, so presumably all is well there. Do you actually fish as well, or spearfish as well, or just meander around for shells, over?
Just meander around for shells. I haven't even looked over the water.
Doesn't want any blood in the water. With his,
No, David just said he doesn't. You don't want any blood in the water. No, that's quite true. Anyway, all right. No, all seems well in Switzerland with the heat. I don't know how she does it, but anyway, she seems to enjoy atrocious weather conditions what we would call atrocious anyway. Boy, it's been hot over there. So, yeah, no complaints from Switzerland, over.
Yeah, Roger. Yeah, she spent just with all that time in the sauna at home with it cleaned up we both just nice to watch from the outside.
Yeah, it wouldn't do David any good. He'd be a quivering mess at the bottom. All right, Ellen. Yeah, thanks for that news. It's a shame, isn't it, about Uvea? Interesting, and hasn't got onto the news system at all. How did you find out about it, over?
Came up on New Zealand, the New Zealand station for Pacific Island news, and a little bit of it in Bismarck and stuff. So yeah, I had it last Wednesday, so I suppose it was, but it was a bit scratchy or sketchy at that stage, but over a period of time, they sort of reinforced it.
Yeah, okay, all right. There'll be plenty to find if I do a search. Then thank you for that. All right, well, we'll leave you in peace. You are missing some rather tranquil weather here in New Zealand, as you've probably heard. Long may it continue, but I'm sure it won't. But yeah, no, it's been really nice. Okay, cheers, Ellen. Have a good, safe day, and enjoy the calmer weather tomorrow. Over.
Roger. Thank you for that.